Hey y'all, welcome to the 2024 Latinx Kidlit Book Festival. For if you're in school, if you're a student, if you're a teacher, welcome. We want to ask that you please read our anti-harassment policy in the chat box. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the Latinx Kidlit Book Festival's YouTube channel. And if you are a school, classroom, librarian, or educator joining us, our school visit fund is back. You can enter to win a free visit from a Latinx author or illustrator for your classroom or library. You can find the link in the entry form in the chat. And so thanks to everybody for tuning in wherever you are. We're here excited for the Breakups and Heartbreaks panel. For those of y'all who don't know, my name is Gume Laurel III. I'm the author of Samson and Domingo and The Brujos of Borderland High. Both are high-low verse novels published by West 44 Books. And so I'm here joined with some amazing authors. Let's go ahead and we'll go around. If y'all can introduce yourselves and the book that you've written and that you're going to be talking about today. We'll start with Rocky.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rocky Callen, and my last book is Crashing Into You that just came out in June. And it is about a teen street racer who is avoiding grief and finds a boy who knows how to hold grief with gentle hands. And so she teaches him how to drive. We see her and her family, and we see her rivalries, but we also see a tender love story.
Awesome. And Alex?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Alex Crespo. I wrote Queerceañera, which came out this June as well. This story follows Joaquin, who is a 17-year-old living in Austin, Texas. He's recently come out to his family, and while his dad and his sister are really supportive, his mom has a kind of lukewarm reaction to it. So they decide to throw him a Queerceañera, the title of the book. It is like a coming out / coming of age party. And he kind of hopes that it'll help him reconnect with his mom and kind of get her on board with his coming out experience. And in the process, he gets wrapped up in a fake dating scheme with his childhood best friend / first love.
Nice. Yeah. Goldy?
Hi, I'm Goldy Moldavsky. I'm the author of Just Say Yes. It is the story of Jimena. It takes place in 2006. And Jimena, on the cusp of starting her senior year of high school, she discovers that she is actually undocumented. She had no idea. And then she also discovers that there is no path to citizenship for undocumented minors, unfortunately. And then she realizes that the only way for her to really be an American is to get married. And so she goes on a quest to find herself a husband. It's a romantic comedy, but it's also obviously very serious.
Yeah, I got a chance to read all three of y'all's books before this panel, and I loved all of them. There was something specific about each book that I really took away. Like Rocky's had so many like powerful lines that just like really got like I was like, oh, like there was one where it's like you build a fence around their feet to like protect them. I was like, oh, that was such a good line. Like Alex, yours was so funny. I think I loved your main character. He was just so all over the place, and I was like, I relate. And Goldie, yours was super, for me, it was very insightful because I got to learn so much from like the experience because like they go on online dating. And so I was like, oh, it's totally different from like a woman's perspective. I can show up and be like, whatever, but it's not like that for everybody. And I saw somebody in the chat said, hi from the Rio Grande Valley. That's where I'm originally from, Udo 956. I'm from Westaco. And like I mentioned, I'm the author of Samson and Domingo, which is about, trying to get the no glare. Domingo, the marching band kid, falls in love with Samson, the football player. They're from rival high schools. And The Brujos of Borderland High, which is about a teenage witch going through his first breakup. He can't get over his ex, and the time-traveling demon shows up to torment their school, and he has to figure out how to stop it. And today we are going to be playing the game Breakups and Heartbreaks. It's going to be kind of like a choose your own adventure. We're going to go question by question and see how that goes. And so for those of y'all watching, we have no idea what the questions are. We've never actually looked at them. So this is all going to be on the spot. So it's going to be extra fun. So let's go ahead and check out the first question. Guide your main character through romance or heartbreak. Over the summer, you had a whirlwind secret romance. But summer is over and you're shocked to find out your secret romance is also a bitter rival. Turns out your secret romance is a member of the rival team. How tragic. But what team would that be? Are they a rival soccer team, a rival street racer, a rival debate team, a rival marching band? So I like this. This is a little bit of all of us. What are y'all thinking? Rocky, what are you thinking?
So I have to go with the street racer.
Are you a street racer? Did you,
this romance.
were you a street racer growing up? Like, were you into that scene?
So my husband, I met him when I was 16, and he introduced me to the world of street racing. And while I wasn't a driver, I was very much in the world. And so it was just, it's a fascinating culture. And I remember when I was trying to come up with this new book, I was trying to write a completely different story, and then Let These Voice just came out and right in the middle of a race. And I was like, oh man, she's going to take me for a ride. So it was like flashbacks.
That's awesome. I remember in high school we were driving around when we shouldn't have been. Like, I don't think the person like knew how to drive. We didn't have licenses for sure, and we accidentally put onto the street where they were drag racing.
Oh,
And so we were like freaking out, trying to find a way, but there was people lined up on the sides of the street. You know how it is, like this.
Yeah.
So we were just like freaking out, trying to pull off.
no, it is a scary thing. It can be a very scary thing. So everyone drive safely.
Yes, drive with the license.
Yeah.
Alex, which are you picking?
I'm kind of tempted to pick street racing too. I'll say that my love interests in my book don't have like any real reason to be rivals other than just massive misunderstandings, which is also classic in real life. But I love the action of street racing, so I'm going to pick that too.
Is that a trope you like?
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
Awesome. Goldy?
I'm drawn to the debate team for some reason. I just imagine them as like really serious type A personalities. And when you've got those and you make them fight each other, that's like comedy. That's comedy gold to me. So I'm going with the debate team. Totally.
Awesome. Obviously, I would normally pick marching band because I was in marching band in high school. I marched with the French horn. But for the sake of the game, so that there's not like an awkward tie we have to figure out, I'm going to pick rival street racer. You absolutely can't date a rival, right? Everyone would hate you. You both decide to keep the secret despite your lingering feelings. So we have a secret romance happening. Except you keep running into each other at practices and the local coffee shop and at the local drag race. Do you ignore them, it's over, or talk to them, no need to be rude?
I think I pick the debate team, so they're definitely going to be talking to each other. I'm imagining they're talking throughout this entire book and romance, but they are going to be rude. I don't subscribe to the second half of that option. I think they talk to each other and they are rude.
Awesome.
Agreed. I was like, something's off here. So, like, that's a lot of grace initially. Like, we need to work on it. So, I would talk to them, but there would be some trash talk in there. Like,
Alex?
Yeah. No, I agree. My first thought was talk to them and be rude. A third option. I think I do love them. Even when like protagonists are like a little bit more quiet, I feel like I like when they have a little fire to them. So
I feel like this is the Latino way. Is that wrong to say? But like, we have a little fire to us. We have to say it.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
See, I think I'm a mix of both of them because I would initially ignore them, not to be rude, but then I would talk to them after. Maybe I'm just like shady like that. I like the secret, I like the thrill of it. But we'll go ahead and go with talk to them. No need to be rude. Did you talk? Yes. Did you make out seconds later? Also yes. In fact, you almost got caught by your friends. After another chance encounter, your friends notice the tension between you and your rival. Do you spill your secrets? First answer, yes, your friends should know. It's over anyways. Nope, they wouldn't understand. Alex, what are you thinking?
I think you should tell your friends. I feel like that's part of the fun of having a crush. The drama needs to be shared with the group, right? Like you need to get the input from everyone. So I'm going to vote yes.
Okay, Rocky?
So, like, me versus Letty would be different answers. Me would be like, yes, I'm going to tell my friends. I'm going to get, like, the collective around me. Letty would be like, denial. Like, nope, this is not happening. This was a fluke. But I will go with yes, tell your friends, because there will be some good banter there.
Cool. Goldie?
It's interesting. Alex mentioned drama and sharing it, but I think it would create more drama for everybody if you kept it secret. Drama for yourself, drama for your friends, drama for the love interest. So
we're not that blow up moment.
Exactly. We're keeping that tension in until the blow up moment. Yes, love it.
See, for me, that's not even a question because they would have known at the very beginning. Like I would have had to have gotten everybody's approval and like group chat, like what's everybody feeling? We're gonna take a poll, but we'll do. So raise your hand if you had said yes, and then if you say no. Okay, we're gonna go with yes. Your friends should know it's over anyways.
In retrospect, Goldie, I would have gone with you. So,
only when this new slide comes up.
Moment, I'm here for it, you know. Should have gone with Letty vibes.
So your friends are shocked and a little impressed, but in the end, they want to make sure it's over. Nothing can get between your team and this year's win.
That's why we don't tell our friends stuff.
Right. That's why we stay secret. Between school and practice, you have no time to think of your former flame. The night before the big match, you can't sleep and make your way to your favorite quiet spot. Your former flame is also there. Seems they couldn't sleep either. Do you stay or go home? First option is stay. This is your favorite place. Second option, go back. You can stress out in your own room.
Now, if we can't all agree on this one, then are we even really writers right now?
Like, yeah.
You got to do it for the plot. I say stay. This is your favorite place.
Stay.
We all agree stay. We're all going to stay.
This is when the sparks start flying.
Exactly.
Like, this is the moment.
Before the big game, there's so much like energy happening. You spend the night talking and realizing neither of you are over each other. You turn around, but they see you calling out your name. Still, you ignore them until you feel a hand wrap around yours. Before you know it, the sun is rising and you still haven't gotten any sleep. Quickly, you say goodbye and make it just in time to the competition. You're tired, but the competition is evenly matched. You catch your flame watching you and you can't help but blush. During a break, you get a text. Your flame asks to meet them for a moment. It's important. You sneak away to meet them, or you say no, the competition is what's important. Say, Rocky, what are you thinking?
No, I would do the competition. You can wait, friend. Like, sorry. We had our sparks last night.
Are there parts like that in your book?
Well, I feel like I know when I was a teenager, I would absolutely be like, romance, all that is so secondary to what I want to do with my life. And so I would be on principle, like, need to like charge forward. If you want me, you'll wait type thing. And Letty is also kind of has that energy to her. Like, she's really committed to her dream. She loves her people, but she knows what's on the line. Like, her way out is through what her dream is. And so I think she would lean on that, but then I think she'd be ruminating and be like, what did he want to say? What was going to happen? So it'd be like racing, but tormented. And that affects what happens with your race.
Sure. Alex?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that tension is really good to just leave them thinking about it. Also, I think I would also like say no and focus on the competition, because I think what makes really good rivals in books is when they're both really equally invested outside of the romance. So I feel like that would be character building, right? Like, it shows the main character's focus, it builds up the tension. So I like that option too.
That kind of reminds me too of your main character in Queerceañera, because I feel like they were either like not conscious of what was happening around them, or they're like, you can wait. Like they kept like at the very beginning when they're in the record store, which I can't think of the name of the record store, but I feel like it's one in Austin, like right by Book People. Was that kind of the one that you were thinking?
Yeah, I think I fictionalized it, but you know which one I was referring to.
Yeah, because I lived in Austin for several years, and so I was like, wait, I know exactly like where this is on Lamar.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking that, but he at the beginning he meets somebody or like that flirts with him, and I was like, oh, is this it? And then that's it. I was like, no, that was like, I was so excited because I thought that was going to be something. So I could see your main character being like that both ways.
Yeah, he was definitely at the beginning of the book very clueless and not focused on romance at all. And he's, super focused on his family and art and the things that he cares about. And I think it's kind of fun to see him panic through a romance after that, because he is not prepared.
Goldy?
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. At first, I was inclined to pick Sneak Away, but then I'm like, you know what? There's something that they want to say, but then put them in the competition and hold on to that tension. Tension is so important for a book. So if our main character knows that there's something there that's unfinished, maybe just like, build up on it, let it simmer a little bit, get back to it later, focus on the competition. We are here for a competition after all.
So it's funny because the rival thing that kind of comes from the Samson and Domingo, like my book, because they're rival high schools. And I think at the start of it, Domingo, because it takes from the point of view of Domingo, the French horn player, he's very much like, I don't care about this dude. Like, he's second place. Like, he's just like kind of like playing along with it. But then at the end, he like falls more. So then he would be more inclined to not to not worry about the competition or not be able to focus on the competition. But I agree. I'd say no. The competition is what's important. But we're gonna ask a couple questions too, because I did have some more questions for y'all. I wanted to see like what y'all are feeling about with your main characters, because these questions, they're based on our main characters and kind of like a mix of them and us. So I guess the first question would be like, how is the main character like you were when they were their age? Them all being teenagers. Because I know for me, when I wrote Samson Domingo or even the Brujo's Borderland High, I would write it and be like, I can't believe he's making that decision. But then I'm like, that's exactly what I would do. And I'm like, no, this is so cringe. Like, get over the ex. Like, he treated you horribly. Like, never again. And then he just can't get over him. I'm like, oh yeah, but me at that age, me at 16, 17. So how are your main characters like you guys? Let's start with Rocky.
So I think the main thing is that Letty is driven, and I was always very driven. And so I always was very much focused on what I wanted to create or achieve or succeed in. And like I had my blinders on and was sort of obsessively on track for that. And I also was really avoidant. Like one thing, you know, looking beyond just like the main plot of the story with street racing is Letty is avoidant of her grief. And the big thing that we come to discover is you can't heal grief unless you face it. And that was one of the things that I would do is I would compartmentalize all the things that were painful or hurtful. So that way I could like charge on, but I didn't realize like those were sort of anchors dragging me back. And it wasn't until adulthood that I learned that that's not great. So I created a love interest that knew how to hold grief gently. But yeah, so very driven, very very feisty, very like no nonsense, and also to her own detriment, very avoidant.
I love that answer. I love it even more because you had like 5 puns in there. Driven, stays on track.
All right.
Like it's just like naturally happening. Hello from Lawrence North High School in Indianapolis. Hey, Julie.
Hello.
Julie is awesome. Julie's a huge proponent for Latinx book literature for her students and students everywhere, all over Instagram. So Julie is awesome.
So incredible.
Alex, how are you and your main character alike?
Yeah, I think.
Are you the main character?
I am not. I think Joaquin and I are very, very different, honestly. Especially like this was a book that I wrote because I didn't have the experience of being around like Latino culture growing up. I grew up north near the Great Lakes, and there just like wasn't a community by me growing up. So a lot of this book was me kind of exploring that and what it would have been like to grow up. You know, he grows up in Austin, Texas. He has his culture around him. His family is close to him. And I thought that would be a kind of like beautiful thing for me to explore, reflecting on my teenage years. But I think some parts of his personality are kind of like me, especially the bits where he kind of like holds back a lot of his emotions and then they kind of like all come out at once. I think when I think about my characters, like after the ends of my books, I'm like, I don't have anything set in mind in terms of what they're doing in the future. They can do whatever they want. They're free. But I look at his character and his character arc and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, I feel like he's going to be a lot better expressing his emotions after the book ends. And that was also something that I had to learn over time, and maybe I'm still learning.
I think we can all relate to that, holding it in and then exploding everywhere. Like, and then ugly crying on accident.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved yours because it really took me back to high school. So I grew up in on the border of US and Mexico, like at the very bottom tip of Texas. And there's like literally what's south of us is Mexico. We're on the river. And all of freshman year and sophomore year, just every weekend was somebody's quinceañera. And everybody was like, I was in probably at least a dozen. I was at Chamberlain, at least a dozen different ones. So like every weekend you're either at a quinceañera or at a practice, like in somebody's backyard doing the dance, like trying to learn it and memorize it. So it was super fun reading your book. It really took me back.
Yeah.
Goldy, how are you and your main character alike?
Well, we're not very alike at all. I was a really shy, quiet kid. I was friendly. That's how we're alike. But Jimena, I mean, you can just tell from this cover. She's
I
like,
like the lip bite.
I know,
like,
right?
oh,
She's got like feisty to her.
yeah.
I really, when I wrote her, I imagined her kind of as like the Latina Cher from Clueless. Like she's that type of girl. She's walking down the halls. She's the most popular girl in her school. Everybody loves her. She loves everybody. She's super nice, you know, a nice popular girl. I was not that at all, but the biggest similarity is probably that we both grew up undocumented. I totally took from my experiences growing up undocumented, but I didn't respond like she did. I did not decide to get married at 18. She is definitely much more of a go-getter in that sense, much bolder, bigger ideas. I was like, it'll happen for me when it happens for me. But I did grow up knowing of girls like that. Like I had a really close childhood friend who, as soon as she turned 18, she's like, I'm going to find myself a husband and get on with my life. So I took like inspiration from people like that. I knew they were out there, and I had my own backstory of being undocumented and what that meant for, you know, just like how you think about growing up in the world. Like what happens after high school when you can't do anything. So I put kind of those two things together, the mindset of the uncertainty of it all, and then the go-getter personality of, I'm going to go after it. I'm going to make this happen for myself. I'm not going to wait for the government to make my life for me. So melded those two types of personalities together.
Yeah, no, I loved it because I have multiple friends that were in that same situation, and then they got married to, you know, secure themselves. But I didn't notice the lip bite on the. I hadn't noticed that.
I zeroed in. I was like, boom! I see that.
She's got friends, you know. She's sneaky.
See, I had love because like how she has the flowers. It doesn't look like she's blocking. To me, she like slapped him in the face, like get out of the way. Like that's how I had seen it. So like doing the lip bite, I'm like, okay, that adds to it. That's even more.
Yeah, I like that with the cover.
How much did you like have a lot of say in the cover, or did it just like were you like, I want her biting her lip, slapping this dude?
She had a totally different expression on her face in the first sketch in the mock-up that I saw, and I'm like, I don't know if this is her exactly. Like, you know,
how was the first one? Like what was it?
I think the first one, like she had her eyes closed or something, just like a typical grin. And I'm like, no, she's planning something. Like there's something going on behind her eyes. Like nobody else is aware, but she's going to get this guy. So I'm like, little sneaky lip bite smile.
That's what I loved about her personality, because at the end of every adventure she gets into, she's already planning the next one. Like she's like already like always a step ahead of what's going on. So super fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. I all of our covers. When I saw all of the car covers like for the panel pop up, I was like, oh, these are all delicious.
Your cover is gorgeous. It looks like it could be like a CD album cover. It could be a poster. It could be a movie. It could be so many things.
I love it. I wasn't aware of this artist. And then my cover designer's like, how about this artist? I'm like, well, I'm in love. So like say less. Like, let's do it. So yeah, he blew me away. I was so happy.
Yeah, and then for Queerceañera, I love the roses, the floral design, how they were able to capture that. It's gorgeous, the colors.
Yeah.
For mine, like the brujos, so that they're witches, and all the boy witches, they pull tarot cards, and it's not like the traditional tarot, but it's like an image will pop up on the card. And so the main character, he always pulls cards for himself. It's always a snake eating itself, a broken clock, and shattered mirror. And like just he gets stuck in a loop. And so it's always like those three images. So the artist went and added those like images like overlap each other. I'm like, I want this as a tattoo. Like I really like how he did that.
It is really beautiful.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go back to the question for a little bit. Let's go back to the game. During a break, you get a text. Your flame asks to meet them for a moment. It's important. Do you sneak away to meet them, or say no, the competition is what's important? Which one had we decided on? If you say sneak away, raise your hand. You say no, everybody's saying no. See, I want to say I'd say no, but I would say yes in real life. In real life. So your flame tracks you down, pulling you into a quiet room, declaring, what if we weren't over? Then kissing you. When you meet, your heart flutters. You can't help it. They want to thank you for listening last night and ask, what if we weren't over? Just as they kiss you. Before you can answer, it's time to head back into the competition. Flushed and flustered, your head is not in the competition. You lose. So that would be me in your life. Depressed about the loss, you're about to head home when you overhear the other team bragging. Then you hear your name. Do you sneak closer to hear better, or go home? You're too tired for this. Or the third option, I think we'd all pick, and is like, go and start a fight. Like, go start That's what we would.
That I think that third option would be the most accurate. But I guess sneak closer to hear better. Because I need to know what's going on. I need the cheeseman. I need to know why I'm about to fight.
Alex, what do you say?
Oh yeah, I am for sure sneaking closer. And I will say that this comes up in my book at a very key moment. And Joaquin does make the same choice that I would make. You got to be nosy. You got to hear more.
Perfect. What about you, Goldie?
I would sneak closer, but I think for the book's sake, I know it's boring to go home, but I feel like that happens all the time in romance books. Like everything is just a miscommunication, or you're imagining things that aren't really happening and you decide everything has to fall apart. So I think we're at the juncture of the book where we're just imagining worst case scenarios at this point. We don't want reality, and we're just going to go home and be sad.
You just want to go home and be sad? Are you going to be like, what are you going to, so if you did go home, what would you do? How would you be sad?
My favorite show, probably.
Which is?
Me in real life would go home. Like me as grown Rocky would go home and be like, I'm too tired for this. I'd be like, in my pajamas, fluffy, having
like it's 8:30 p.m.
Just like, okay, everybody doesn't like me. So that would be me in life because I'm always tired anyway. But yeah, it's understandable. It does add to the miscommunication, because what if they were saying, oh, so and so really raced well? Like, what if it was a guy?
Right.
Like they were so close, and meanwhile you're thinking they're trash. They suck.
Yeah. See, that's how I'm not a Libra. Like miscommunication trope. Like I don't like that. I'm like, we're gonna talk about that. I get confrontational. I'm like, let's clear this up right now. So if you said sneak closer to hear better, raise your hand. Sorry, Goldie.
It's not my day today.
So would it be like what kind of sneak closer would it be? Would it be like you're pretending to do your own thing, or are you going to be obvious about it? I feel like I would pretend and then be like, just make it completely obvious once I've established my position close by. What do you guys think?
Yeah, you be inconspicuous so you get the real good listen, and then be like, oh really? So
pretending you're like sweeping like a few feet away.
Stage left.
A fake mustache. So we are going to choose sneak closer to hear better. Let's see what comes next. You overhear someone say your flame only kissed you to throw you off your game. See, now, like, I'm just mad now. And it worked.
Like, he got in his chair. He's like, oh.
Yeah. Like, sit up right now.
We're all mad.
Like, teenage Gume is about to come out. They all start to laugh. And maybe you can hear your flame tell them to shut up, but you aren't sure. Do you run away, the day was hard enough, or do you burst in and confront them? Goldie.
Well, I already picked go away the first time. I can't just keep running away. I have to do something at this point.
You have to face it.
Yes, so we are going to burst in and confront them. Let's get to the bottom of this.
Alex?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like confronting them would be good. And I also think it would avoid the kind of miscommunication trope at this point where it's like, okay, you heard what was being said. You might as well get the full story in the moment, right?
You know your beats. You got to see them.
Yeah.
Rocky?
Yeah, I think burst in, confront them. And then it could go so many different directions, right? Because if the guy or if the other person is there and he's like, no way, I was trying to and you just like turn around, like, it's over. Dramatic moment. So
Door slam. Sit up in chair. So for y'all with your main characters, are those so the answers that you guys are giving, are those the answers that Rocky, Alex, and Goldie would give, or are those your main characters from your books? Like, is that their response? Like, how would they respond, Goldie?
Yeah, I think Jimena would definitely burst into any room and any situation. And like Rocky said, there's still a lot of fodder there for more miscommunication, more outbursts, more misunderstandings. Like you can all have great intentions, but a fight can like turn on just like that. Like you might say the wrong word or you might have the wrong tone. And then like it's still a fight. And a fight is always good in a book. Yeah, my character fights.
She bust in with like biting her lip, slapping somebody in the face with the flowers.
Exactly. It's
like
on the
ready to go. Alex, what about your main character? What would your main character's response be in this situation?
Yeah, I think by and large, I feel like he would probably run away. I think not because he'd be afraid of confrontation, but more because I think it takes him time to process things. And like, he's a big overthinker. So I think he'd need time to go through that whole process of like freaking out before he decides what to do. But he has moments where he kind of like blurts things out, or he just kind of like is like, okay, enough is enough. And he just like confronts the truth. So maybe a little bit a mix of both, I think.
Okay. What about you, Rocky?
So I feel like this is a whole little like a spectrum of Rocky and her healing. So what I'll just run through is like early young Rocky would run away and be like devastated. Then like older teenage Rocky would burst in and be like, confront them. And then now Rocky would walk away peacefully because like, peace out, folks. I'm gonna go. So like, we can deny access whenever required. So like, that's my little thing. But Letty would absolutely burst in, confront them. There would be no other thing. So she'll be ready with fight and fists.
Like peel in, like car.
Yeah,
exactly. Drive through the wall.
Walks out as the car's still moving.
I think like me now, same. I would just be like, I'm over this, like walk away, block them as I walk away, and then go watch reruns of Parks and Rec in my pajamas. But my main character, which me as a teenager would definitely burst in and confront them aggressively. So raise your hand if you say burst in. I say burst. Okay, we'll go ahead and go with that for the plot. You call your flame and their team every name in the book. And before you leave, you make sure to let them know, not only is it over, it didn't even mean anything. Sounds about right. You get home, blocking your flame's number. You also see texts from your friends. They saw you sneaking away with your flame and aren't happy.
Rough day.
What do you do? What do you do next? Ignore the world in your room, or start by talking to your friends. So we choose Alex.
Okay, remind me. Did we already talk to our friends about this?
Before,
you guys did. I said she was going to keep it to herself, so I still got this option in my bag.
She's like, you guys created your own drama. In my scenario, they wouldn't even know.
I think maybe if we already talked to our friends about it a little bit, I'd say it's a good time to keep leaning on them. Maybe kind of like tell them the full story if you haven't already. Get some more opinions. Although I have to say that if this was me, I'd ignore the world. I'd turn off my phone. I'd be like, nobody talk to me. But if we're being responsible with our protagonist, I think that they should talk to their friends.
Okay. Goldie?
healed versus unhealed.
I want a third option. I don't like these options. Like,
what's the third option? What's your third option?
do something totally off the wall just for yourself. Like, go break something, go make some art. I don't know, just insert a new scenario, somebody new to talk to who has like no bias on the situation. You know, like I think we're at the point where we need to step out of this really small world, do something for ourselves, and then come back to it with like fresh eyes. So I guess my answer is ignore the world in your room. I know we got to stick to a script. So yeah, that's my answer.
No, it's interesting because that third option,
ignoring the world in your room, you're like, oh, I'm gonna call so and so after you're like crying with your bowl of cereal. You know?
Yeah,
I would ignore the world in my room too, even though, like Alex said, I feel like a healthy thing would be to talk to friends and be like, I need you now, right? Talk to people, or maybe talk to other caring adults.
A responsible adult in your life.
Responsible adults that have seen that, been there, can now help you navigate beyond that moment. I think that is the healthy thing to do. But to be very honest, I would ignore that.
Well, no, I think like within the answer, ignore the world and being your, like there's like good that can come out of that. So that was like one of the questions I was curious to ask y'all about is like, and Goldie mentioned it, just like kind of like doing what makes them like happy in that moment. So like self-care, like you could exercise, your main character would be exercising self-care. How does your main character exercise self-care? Like, what does that look like for your main character? Goldie, since you were trending that way.
For my character, her absolutely favorite thing to do is go to a coffee shop and get the most sugary, like least healthy concoction in a coffee cup that she can get and just treat herself to that.
Like a double chocolate chip frappuccino, extra whip.
12 shots of caramel and like strawberry stuff, whatever, disgusting, but she loves it.
Honestly, same.
Bitter. You need some sweetness in it, so
Yeah.
I can't even just, yesterday I was like stressed, so I went and bought a bag of Dove chocolate, like the dark chocolate, ate like half the bag, like 20 pieces.
Good for you.
Yeah, self-care.
Yeah.
What about you, Rocky?
So Letty would go on a drive, and that is actually like me. Whenever I'm having really hard time, my husband would be like, do you want to go for a drive? And so it's her version of ignore the world in your room. It's just like, it's her in her car and she's driving. She probably would go and like end up in New York or Philadelphia. She'd just be driving and like, it helps clear her head and she feels confident there. Even if she like feels like she was dumb and, lost the race because of some, silly crush, she could say like, but my car though, like I can rely on her, so that would be her version of like ignore the world, but in a way of, this is me returning to myself. This is me taking care of myself, is clearing out all the noise and remembering what I'm here for.
Love that. Yeah, with Samson Domingo, Samson, he has a Mustang, like a yellow Mustang. He drives around. He's like obsessed with it, and so that's his self-care. Also, he'll just go for a drive, and then as he like falls in love with Domingo, he picks up Domingo and incorporates him into that like moment. So that's like, I like that answer a lot. Alex?
Yeah, I feel like Joaquin would probably, the main thing he would do is probably focus on art. Like it's very therapeutic for him. It's his like main hobby and also what he wants to do after high school. So I think that he would just kind of like laser focus on doing that and doing something that makes him happy. But I also think, kind of touching on what I said earlier, where he has the tendency to bottle things up, I think self-care for him would actually be spending time with people that he loves. Like, I think he would have the urge to kind of like, hole up in his room and not talk to anybody, but it would probably be good for him to actually spend time with his best friend or talk to his sister. So I think that would be good for him too.
Okay. So for the game, are we choosing to ignore the world or start by talking to your friends?
Ignore the world.
Ignore the world.
Yes.
I think that vote
Yes.
one.
Okay, let's go with ignore the world in your room. Ignoring the world only works for a little while. Soon your friends are knocking down your door and demand the details. You spill your guts about the overheard conversation. In a surprising turn, your friends aren't so sure your flame is the bad guy. When you blocked their number, your flame reached out to your friends to talk. You're shocked, but you aren't sure you can trust them just yet. At your next competition, your flame is there, declaring their love. They will drop out of the game to prove it to you. This competition means so much to you both. Why would they drop out? Do they really care that much? Do you believe them? Yes, you accept the apology. No, it's a trick. Let's start with Goldie because I feel like Goldie's going to have the best answer.
No, I know.
Your answers have been, I've been having a blast with your answers.
Yeah.
Thanks. No, I'm going to be boring and say yes, accept the apology. Like, why would they say they're going to drop out of the competition unless they mean it? You know, I wouldn't make them drop out of the competition. That would make me a bad person. So I wouldn't do that. But I would believe them. Yes.
Okay.
Why not?
This would be the part where I was reading the book and I'm like, so are we like 40 pages out or 10
Yes,
pages
that's
out?
true.
Like, how much space do we got here? Old Rocky and Letty's, I think, knee-jerk reaction would be like, it's a trick. But I feel like a public declaration paired with like the thing that they're dropping out of something you know that they really love, like you love, so you know what like the loss would be to you, so you can sort of imagine that. I think I would accept the apology.
Okay. Alex?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I would accept the apology as long as they stayed dropped out. Like, I wouldn't want it to be a
Okay.
symbolic thing where they're like, I'm so sorry, I'll drop out. And you say, okay. And then they're like, okay, just kidding, I'm competing. You're like, no, stand with what you said. So I'm going to go with yes, accept the apology, but I think I'd still be a little bit. I'd be like, okay, we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like me now, I'd be like, no, it's a trick. But for, young me would be like, yes, I accept your apology. So we'll go ahead and go with yes, you accept the apology.
Like, just the thing for students and things is believe actions, not words. So just in terms of avoiding any kind of manipulation in the future, remember that we believe behavior and consistent behavior, not fleeting words. Okay? Okay. So
I think that's good advice for writing too. I think gestures are so much better than just dialogue. So I agree. A gesture works here. I would go for that.
So we'll go with yes. Accept the apology. Look at that. You both won. You won the game and your flame won you back. Looks like it's going to be a nice fall after all.
Oh, we had a love story, y'all.
Yeah.
We made it happily ever after.
Yes,
it was iffy for a little while there.
It was like,
I don't know if y'all saw my expressions, but every slide I'm like,
Wait, can we go back and pick no, don't accept it? I want to know what happens now if you don't accept this apology.
Like,
the story just ends very early.
Yeah.
It's a short story. And for those of you all watching, if you have any questions, make sure to drop them in the chat. We're here. We had another probably about 10 minutes left, so make sure to get those questions in. I did have a couple more random questions for y'all. I guess these will be more rapid fire questions since we're running low on time. First question, I'll go from Rocky, Alex to Goldie. Which Marvel Universe superhero or villain would your main character be?
Oh man.
Rocky.
I would say So when I thought of like the first thought that came to mind, and this might not make sense, but I thought of Iron Man, where he's cocky and he makes things and he's like determined, he knows that it's going to work out. So that came to mind. So I'll just go with that.
No, I can see that because like all the mechanics and gears and stuff.
Yeah.
Alex?
Okay, admittedly, I feel like I'm not up to date on like Marvel stuff, but my first thought was, I think her name is the Scarlet Witch. I feel like Joaquin would like identify with her. She's like powerful, but she's kind of like, she has those moments of just like exploding temper. I think that he would appreciate that.
That's funny because so I'm watching right now Agatha All Along.
Yeah.
And so for the Brujos book, the witch would either be Agatha Witch or Scarlet Witch. So same.
Nice.
Goldie?
My character doesn't do superheroes, but I think she would pick probably the one with the best hair. So maybe Storm from X-Men. Was it
The
Storm?
Mohawk version
The
or
other one? What's the one with the white streak in her hair?
Rogue.
Okay,
Rogue.
Rogue. Or maybe like a Wonder Woman, but she's DC. And I know that wasn't the question.
Honestly, I'm a DC kid. Like I grew up reading DC comics. That's what really got me into reading as a kid. So it was the comic book.
Yes.
And we do have a couple questions coming in. We'll go ahead and read those ones off. The first question is from Inez. The question is, what was the last book you loved? Goldie, what was the last book that you loved?
Man, you're putting me on the spot. The first thing that comes to my mind is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle. What's her name?
I can see the cover. The cover is gorgeous.
Something like that. Yeah, I love that book. And I actually like name dropped it in my next YA because I loved it so much.
Awesome. Alex?
Okay, I feel like I've been reading a lot of books that haven't come out yet, so I'll give a preview for a book that is coming out, I think, in a couple of months. Yeah, it's a fellow HarperCollins author, and the book is called It's a Love Skate Relationship. So it's like a rival sapphic YA romance between a hockey player and a figure skater, and it's so funny. I was like laughing every single page. It's hilarious and very cute.
Rocky?
Oh man, so the last books I've been reading have been nonfiction, like in the last couple months. But one that I loved was Build Like a Woman. So if anyone vaguely interested in entrepreneurship, that's a good one. But I also read like some of the fiction that I read like over the summer was Hannah Sawyer's All These Fighting Parts. That was just a gorgeous, gorgeous book. It came out, I think, last year, but and on audio specifically because she reads it.
Awesome. And then we have one more question. This one's from Megan. The question is, how do you develop your characters so they're not cliches? We can go back in the same order. Goldie, Alex, and then Rocky.
I just think I like to surprise myself while I'm writing. And if I ever find myself going down a road where the character feels a little too cookie cutter or cliche, like you guys mentioned, I always think, okay, what does the reader expect to happen here? What do I expect to happen here? And then I try to think of something completely different. And I think when I'm reading or when I'm watching a movie or a TV show, that's the most exciting thing for me above anything else. When a character does something that I never expected them to do, which maybe makes them look bad, or makes them look great. I don't know, but you can reveal so many facets of your character by just making them have an interesting hobby that you wouldn't expect them to have, making them say the wrong thing at the wrong time. Just little things like that will create surprising situations that will, I think, avoid cliches. So that's what I would do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alex?
Yeah, I think for me with building characters, I think I kind of approach it rather than, taking like a character archetype that exists and then building off of that. I feel like more I look towards people that I know in real life, and then you have to pair things back for characters because like there's that phrase that it's like the truth is stranger than fiction. So true. I think about that all the time while I'm writing. Like people are way, way, way more complex than any character that you'll ever read, honestly. And, real life romances are way more complicated than the ones that you read in books. So if anything, you have to kind of like look at life around you and then cut back. And I think if you look at people around you and notice how complex they are, it can kind of help you write characters that are equally complex.
Okay, cool. Rocky?
I think a mix of Goldy and what Alex said is I always look at there's a lot of times like a character will come to me, but what creates the nuance is the internal tension and the friction that they have. So like Letty is like a go-getter, driven, all of that, but then she has the side of her where she's like hiding part of herself, right? And you wouldn't expect that from her. And I think that's something is when we can start to create friction with like external identity and what people perceive of us and what people are grappling with, like that complicated, complex bit, then you really start to see like the multifaceted nature of them.
Cool. We have about a little less than 3 minutes left. If you guys can just let the viewers know where to find you, like social media, and if there's anything you want to let them know before we head out, we'll start with Goldy.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Goldy Writes. And my next book is called Of Earthly Delights. It's a YA gothic romance horror thriller. Let's just throw a bunch of words in there. And it takes place in a sort of twisted, magical private garden. And I'm really excited about it.
That's yummy.
That sounds exciting. Alex?
You can find me on all social media platforms. My handle is by Alex Crespo. Like I said, Queerceañera just came out this year. I had a book come out last year that's a queer YA like spooky horror book. So if you're looking for something for fall, that just came out on paperback and is a little cheaper. And then I have another kind of like spooky YA romance coming out fall of next year. So follow me to see what I'm up to.
Awesome. Rocky?
I am Rocky Writes on Instagram and Rocky Callen on TikTok. And I am actually coming out with, so if you like sad books, like I have sad books, so follow me, get tissue box ready. But the books that I have sold that are coming out next are picture books. So those may take forever to come out because we know how publishing is, but they are coming.
That's awesome. And then you can find me, I'm most active on Instagram at tx.author. And my next book coming up is going to be a solar punk book. It's another high-low verse novel from West 44 Books. It'll be out in February. And thanks to everybody for attending the Breakups and Heartbreaks panel at the Latinx Kidlit Book Festival. Make sure to stay tuned because there's plenty more live streams going on for the rest of today. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, guys.